Welcome to another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. We jetted this year off with a blockbuster episode touching on everything the Springboks and then the local derbies in the URC. Now we are on a break from rugby. Must I say this? A welcome break from rugby for the next couple of weeks. So we will look back on those two SA derbies in the URC, and then we will touch on the Springboks, their opening game to the 2027 World Cup, one against Italy, and then the rest of the pool matches, which should see them cruise through to the round of 16. With me today, unpacking everything on the Springboks, their pool matches at the 2027 World Cup, what those fixtures mean, and then, of course, we have that look back to those two SA derbies. I don't know, someone predicted the Stormers to fight back, but they did not do that and capitulated again. And the Sharks picked up another brilliant win. If you haven't yet, click that like button, subscribe to our channel at the Clutch ZA as we bring you the latest rugby news from South Africa and as we build towards the start of the international season against England. Of course, Six Nations rugby kicking off this week as well. John, uh, welcome back. It's been a it's been a I would say a good revelation for the Boks now to know where they are playing
Mm.
in the 2027 World Cup. They can suss out the cities, as the youngsters call it. They can go and spy on exactly where their hotel will be, get the logistics in order. But then a tough opening match against Italy, a team that they faced quite a number of times. Yeah, just quickly your thoughts on that schedule of the box for the 2027 Rugby World Cup in Australia.
Absolutely. Yeah, first of all, man, we're gonna have a lot of breakfast beers.
Yeah.
It seems as South Africans. I mean, if we thought that the games in Japan were early
Yeah.
kickoffs, we now I think the first game is like it's like 4:45 or on the
Quarter to
morning or
six around there.
quarter
Yeah,
to
yeah,
six,
around
right
quarter
about
to
there.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be an early start for everyone. But I mean, it's at the moment it's the responsibility of Charles Wessels.
Yeah.
He's probably going to go look now at training venues and hotels and all of that, and also look at places where they can actually train without being spied on.
Yeah.
That is obviously his responsibility. We all remember chasing the sun before they played the French. They played it. They had to train on a field which is surrounded by apartment blocks where you could
Yeah.
see every angle of their training session, and they came up with moves inside of the gym to avoid that sort of thing. So yeah, that's going to be Wim Charles's job. What a lovely guy, legend Wim Charles. And then yeah, the rather straightforward pool. You would expect the box to get through it unscathed. The first match against Italy, that's going to be the big one. And then from there, Georgia will offer a bit of physicality, but a scrum threat maybe. And then Romania, that's going to be a blowout. And then the Box will make their way into the round of 16, which could be another sort of easy game as they will face
Yeah.
probably one of the best teams that finished third in their groups. And then the actual World Cup starts when we get to the quarterfinals, when we will play the Wallabies or the All Blacks, possibly the All Blacks, which is going to be a humdinger of a game. And whoever gets through that, I think, will fancy themselves to go
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's worrying me at the moment. Is the box starting against Italy, their strongest pool opponent. And as they go along, the games will progressively get easier, if I can call it that. I mean, Georgia, they've played Georgia, they know the physicality that Georgia will bring. But
Mm.
then Romania, they are not a top tier two side. Would rate them more back to the tier three side of world rugby. But just before that knockout, the Boks will play their games that opponents who are progressively easier. So what to do there, how to approach that, and I think over the next couple of months, I think Rassie Erasmus and his team will already start planning for something like that. Take 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 things otherwise. Australia, we all would have thought that yes, like opening match, New Zealand sorted, get people into the
Yeah,
stadiums from the first game.
exactly.
But New Zealand's their last game, if I'm not mistaken, in the pool, and both of those sides will go into those knockouts with a humdinger behind them. So they will
Yeah.
be prepared for what awaits. Meanwhile, the Boks, but yeah, I don't know your thoughts on that. It could be an opportunity to mix up the team for Rassie Erasmus and have all of his players like he's done, all of his players ready for those playoffs. Or it could be a case of facing Georgia, Italy, and then running into an Australia in the first rugby championship test at Ellis Park, and then they flat. They start good, but they flat in
Yeah.
that playoff, and something like that happens. I don't know how you see it.
Yeah, it's first of all, I'm rather surprised that they decided to keep that big Aussie versus All Blacks match for the last pool game. I think it would have
Mm.
been a lovely start to the World Cup,
Yes,
as we
yeah.
saw in 2023 when France played the All Blacks in the opening game. It just sets the tone for the whole World
Mm.
Cup. Now
Yeah.
it's going to be a sort of a flat start. You would expect Australia to get a win there. I don't know if if Australia said, okay, let's just get our feet wet first before we jump in
Yeah.
and dive into a game against the All Blacks. But for South Africa, it's going to be important to find that balance of getting the guys battle hardened before a big quarterfinal clash and also rotating. Remember, this World Cup is will see the guys play one extra match. So, and from the quarterfinals, semifinals, and to the final, those are three tough games, which takes a lot out of you
Yeah.
physically and mentally. So I think it's sort of you can look at it as a bit of a catch-22 because it does give the box some time to rotate a bit and also give other players a chance. But at the same time, you also want your best team firing and the with a
Yeah.
cohesion at
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
good level as well. So there's a bit of a balancing act. But I mean, if there's one guy you would trust to get all the ducks in a row and plan this meticulously, then it's Rassie Erasmus. Um, I think last year was a great example
Mm.
of maybe what went wrong in terms of where they struggled in the first couple of matches against Italy and Georgia, and then all of those. Oh, basically in the second half against Australia at Ellis Park, all of those things then snowballed into a poor performance. So they would be very aware of getting it right before that World Cup and then going into the World Cup just firing on all
Yeah.
cylinders.
Yeah.
So whichever team is selected on the day that they go and do the business and do it properly. So yeah, I think they would have learned a lot of lessons from last year's games where they started really slow and then only got going, I think, on the overseas trip in that second game in Wellington against the
Mm.
All Blacks where they actually got going. So they would be really careful just to go into that World Cup, maybe get some momentum in the shortened rugby championship uh, in 2027 and then go in with all guns blazing when the World Cup comes around.
Yeah, yeah. They will actually have a full rugby championship, so that is perfect
Wowzer.
prep.
Okay.
So it's no longer truncated because of rugby's greatest rivalry tour happening this year and kicking the rugby champs off the calendar. So they decided World Cup year it's gonna be a full one. So they'll go ready into the World Cup most definitely.
Ooh,
But
but
talking
injuries,
about
eh?
Yeah, talking about those group games. And uh, another way I look at it, is we will see a lot of 33, 34-year-olds playing for the Box. I feel most of the older guys will still go to this World Cup in 2027. So maybe it's not a bad thing that they can stretch legs and bones and play Georgia, Romania, and then another, maybe a tier
Yeah.
two country in that round of 16, to get them battle ready. Because at the age of 33, 34, you play two back-to-back bone-crunching matches. Will you
It's
survive
difficult.
it? Will you last?
Yeah, it's
And
difficult.
that's going to be the other thing for the Box in
Yeah.
2027 is,
And also at that age, you have to get the diesel engine running.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
start off
you
slowly, and
start
then
slow. Yeah.
once you get to the round of 16 quarterfinals, you actually start
It's
firing.
yeah, exactly. Then it's running, and then you're ready for what comes. You play on that emotion. It's your finals. Everything is your last match, so you pump everything into it. So maybe the Box can look at it that way. I know it's still a long way out, but yes, like the finalizing of the matches, the venues, it's the World Cup is getting more palpable. I can feel it. I can
It
feel it.
feels real, eh?
Yeah, yeah. It's now you can plan and you can see where you need to wake up early. We've got one o'clock game. But for every South African watching from this side, which will be probably be most of us, you can be sure that you will have your Versterkwater before the plane has gone over. So that is that is what is happening in this World Cup. We won't complain about it as journalists because we have less stress on the deadlines like it was in France. And we will have avenues to explore the entire game as it unfolded. So in terms of that, we might not have Versterkwater before 5 o'clock, the deadline, but but we will also have a lot on those games to do. So all in all, I think great schedule for the Springboks. Like I said, my only complaint or worry, let me say my worry, is how will they look once they get to those playoffs. But that's a conversation for another day as we get closer to 2027. For now, we're going to quickly touch on it, John, because we are waiting in anticipation for that Six Nations to start. Obviously, we know the nations championship will be taking place later this year, and the Box will be watching England. Rassie and his management will be watching England. Just this build up. I don't know how much you've read and listened to online. But where do you see the Six Nations going? I see a lot of people backing
Mm,
that opening clash. One of those two, France or Ireland, doing the things, but
mm.
I'm saying England. That's the team everyone needs to beat. And in the Box, we'll also know by the end of the next month and a half, 2 months of the Six Nations, what they will be facing come July.
England are definitely the team to watch. I mean, they've gone 11 on the bounce unbeaten over the last year. I think they see themselves as um, the biggest threat to the Springboks in 2026 and in 2027. But as we know, France and Ireland, I think Ireland are basically coming towards a crossroads with their playing group
Mm,
because they are sort of not in the same boat as the Springboks, but many of their key players are much older
yeah.
than some of the Springboks' key players, and they've we saw it during the autumn internationals when they lost to the Springboks. They were the Boks actually hammered them, especially up front. So they need to find a few new faces and blood them over the next 18 months trying to freshen up that squad because there are guys coming towards the end of the careers. We've seen guys retiring over the last few years. Some of the stalwarts, Johnny Sexton, Peter O'Mahony, guys like that who basically carried that Irish team for the better
Mm.
part of a decade. And now they're looking for a replacement. So I think their succession planning wasn't really good. I think France will be up there definitely. Antoine Dupont is back fit and firing, so they will definitely fancy themselves. So I think it's going to be between England and France. That's going to be a massive clash, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those three teams, but definitely England because the Boks are facing them on the 4th of July. Um, in South Africa at Ellis Park. That's going to be a massive clash. So we will see how they actually shape up in this Six Nations before they come over. I mean, yeah, the bubble could already be burst
Yeah,
by March, April. So yeah, it'll be good to see. I think it's going to be very competitive. I suspect Italy will cause the odd upset. Maybe Italy have looked really good
I
over the
hope so.
last couple of years. Wales, on the other hand, they are going to be cannon fodder. Expect them to be pumped every weekend. They are really in a shambles. Not only the national team, but if you filter down to the URC teams
The URC, yeah.
and all the controversy going around there with teams maybe scrapped or
Mm.
merging and all that. So Wales rugby and it's sad because the Wales have always been such a wonderful rugby country, great tradition and so on, now
Mm.
it seems like they are basically sort of coming towards that where they're going to be a tier two
Yeah,
team soon.
yeah. And yeah, and speaking about Wales, it's sad to see the state they are in because Rassie has always likened them to the Boks in terms of just how they play, how they fight, the pride that's in that Welsh jersey. And just every time they get onto the field is they want to do something. They want to do something for their supporters, their country. But the management up there, yes, like we shall see what the outcome of especially with the URC what that will be. But like you said, I foresee the same happening to Wales. We know they can fight, but I don't know if they do have the players and the capacity in the Six Nations to fight. Maybe if they can sneak a win over Scotland, there's another side coming to South Africa with a bit of deflated confidence. But looking forward to an absolute cracker of a Six Nations tournament. I think yeah, over the last I would say over the last four four years, looking back 4 years back, haven't followed it too closely because we always so occupied with the URC teams and the derbies being played here in South Africa. But I think with everything happening and building up towards 2027, there will be a much keener eye on what the European sides are doing in their championship. And also, of course, that's their major title that they fight for every year, including World Cup years. They don't come close to any other World Cup trophy. So they they call theirs the second best. We all know it's the Rugby Championship, but yeah, looking
Well,
forward to
the World Cup draw has been rigged. So
yeah
all of their teams are on the other side of the
on the
draw.
same side, yeah.
Yeah, the same side of the draw. So they'll have one team in the final, definitely.
And we'll get to see now with the Six Nations, maybe a precursor for what can happen on that other side
Mm.
of the
Oh.
2027 World Cup draw. Um, just like but some nice international matches happening. Of course, and the box All Blacks Australia, they will be keeping a keen eye on the European tournament. Speaking about European tournaments, John, I think this break for a certain side playing under the shadow of Table Mountain. This Six Nations break couldn't come at a better time. Some proper soul
But
searching to be done by the Stormers. Um, their pack is misfiring, their backs aren't firing, and as a team, things are just not coming together. And the Sharks, another clinical performance. Twice they were down points at halftime, then 10 points down in the second half at the start. Fought back to beat the Stormers for the first time back to back in the URC. I mean, it takes a good team to do that to the Stormers, and it just shows how poor the Stormers were in that clash.
if there's one team who wouldn't be enjoying this break, it would be the Sharks. I mean, they would be chomping at the bit to be playing again this weekend.
Mm,
What a renaissance they've been going through under JP Peterson, and they just looked a lot. They just look like a team now. At the start of the year, they underplumbed. They maybe had a lot of injuries as well,
mm,
a lot of disruption, a lot of injuries. But now with all their big players back, the Hendrickse brothers at halfback, you've got your Springboks firing.
that
You've
center
got
combination. Phew.
that center combination firing. I mean, for me, the guy that's gone under the radar of the last 2 weeks has definitely been Jaden Hendrickse
Mm,
and his contribution to the Sharks. I mean, they where the Stormers were second best, and they were second best all over the park. But what hurt them the most, beside the lineout shambles in that first game, was the contestable kicking of Jaden Hendrickse
yeah,
and how basically they struggled. And the Stormers have some of the best players under the high ball in the
yeah,
world. Damien Willemse, Warwick Gelant for all his brain farts. He's very good under the high ball. Sasha, fearless under the high
Leolen.
ball.
Yeah.
Leolan Zas, fearless under the high ball. But the pressure they were put under with Jaden Hendricks' pinpoint kicks, and then you've got the Ethan Hooker chasing those kicks. You've got Edwin van der Merwe chasing those kicks. It was just unbelievable. And a guy like Jaden Hendrickse, when you are up on the scoreboard, he will kill
He
you
he continues to pump them.
in terms of those kicks. Off the base, those little tactical kicks. He was
Mm,
a master. And in a World Cup year, or coming towards a World Cup year, he's definitely back in the fold now, especially with Faf de Klerk's injury. We don't know the extent of it. He's got another ankle injury. But he was also sort of last year where he wasn't really picked as well. Obviously, he suffered with a bit of injuries, but if you're taking three scrum halves, and I don't think they're going to take four scrum halves again to the World Cup. If you're taking three scrum halves, then Jaden Hendricks is definitely at the moment in the
mm,
top three. Kobus Reinach, he wasn't good, but I think he was struggling with an injury. He was
yeah.
definitely playing with an injury. He didn't look like himself. He didn't look like the Kobus Reinach who was on fire in 2025. And then obviously you have Grant Williams, who also had a great game in that first half as well with
Mm,
his pace.
yeah.
So there's your three scrum half options now
Sorted.
properly. Yeah, sorted. So, and the Sharks, they are going to push now for a top eight spot, definitely in the second half of the season. They've got some momentum now. But yeah, as you mentioned, the Stormers, this break just comes at a great time. They've got to sort out. I think Damien Willems is also playing with a niggle.
Yeah.
He can rest now. Kobus Reinach, I don't know when he's going to be back after his groin surgery.
6 weeks, so
6
it's
weeks.
gonna
So
take a
yeah,
bit of time. Yeah.
he's probably going to be back shortly before the playoffs. He'll make
Yeah.
his return, and then, but the Stormers, yeah, they need to sort themselves out. I think have a week off, just enjoy some of the sunshine, and the beaches around. Cape Town and then come back refreshed. And then because they made such a great start to the campaign, and I think
Mm,
what you need to capitalize on is to get a home playoff and try and be in that number one, number two spot so you can have
mm.
a home quarterfinal, a home semifinal, possible home final. Because as we've seen in the past, that it's so important in the URC to get a home playoff so
Yeah.
that you play in front of your own fans in your own conditions because that's so important.
Yeah, and the Stormers would know best. Twice they ended up quarterfinal, having to travel to Scotland to play
Yeah.
Glasgow, and they came unstuck twice in those games after reaching consecutive finals in the first 2 years. So they will know exactly what they need to do to get that. But also, I feel some honest conversations, maybe one on one and in a backs, especially with the backs, thing needs to happen. Honest conversations with guys, and someone must tell them, look, you guys are not pulling your weight. You I mean, the Stormers, I don't know, their backs haven't looked this bad in ages. I mean, it used to be the team that set the pace when it comes to calculated, entertaining rugby. But for the last 2 seasons, I feel this season also, and it might have to do with the start that they had with Sasha out, Damien out, some centers injured. Ruan now is not there, the glue of the defensive back
Yeah.
line. Um, I think Warwick was out for a time. And certain things are just not clicking in that back line.
Yeah.
But it's happened in the past, and then they come back, then they find each other, but they are not finding each other at the moment. Same with the hookers and the line out locks, not finding each other. Something must be done there. Because if they can't get that right, things will go pear-shaped in the next two
But
SA local derbies, and they would be giving up their big lead over the rest of the SA sides. They're
yeah.
about 10, 12 points ahead of the chasing pack of the SA teams, but they are giving up vital points by not even getting 1 point out of a
I
loss.
I think the sort of the start of the season maybe because of their forwards were so brilliant at the
Mm,
start of the season and their defensive solidity at the start of the season has masked maybe the problems at the back because at the start of the season they scrum and they line out and from line out their mauling was their
yeah,
three greatest weapons and then you've got
yeah,
defense and you've got Paul de Villiers who won turnover and that's how they got territory and that's how they got points at the end of the day. But now when your scrum isn't really getting rewarded as it should,
mm,
and that's a conversation for another day
yeah,
because, yeah, the refereeing, I think, of the last 2 weekends at scrum time was kind of shocking. But if you're not getting rewarded the scrum and your lineout is malfunctioning badly, which is taking away your mole, which is your biggest weapon, then you have to sort of try and cook up something at the back. And they've got so much talent at the back. You've got the Springbok fly off, you've got the Springbok scrum off, you've got Damian Willemse, you've got Warwick Gelant, you've got Wandisa Milani who's been good this season for most of the season. So there's talent there. So
mm,
why isn't it working?
yeah.
Is it basically, and we touched on this maybe with Sasha, is he maybe trying too much by himself? Is he putting too much pressure on himself to get going?
Especially being
Why
captain.
yes, and he's captain. Why aren't the other guys getting into the game? So, but the Sharks also put them under so much pressure.
Mm,
Because if you're not getting the front football you've been used to throughout the competition,
yeah.
then you really are going to struggle. So I think hopefully Evan Roos it was also a big player for them in terms of that individual brilliance he brings and he brought at the start of the season. So yeah, it's something they need to revisit. It's something they need to look at and sort of so that they can get their campaign back on track.
Yeah. Just lastly, touching on the Bulls' absolutely dominant display at Ellis Park.
Wowzer.
Yeah, no,
I
no.
didn't see that coming.
Same here, same here. And it seems the Akkers era has finally dawned up at
Yeah.
Loftus. I mean, dominant pack and then backs that why has it taken them so long to do this? I mean, they've always had the players there, but suddenly everything clicked and they were playing Bulls forwards rugby, but then the backs looked so slick
Yeah.
when the playmakers touched the ball. I'm talking about Emrose Papier. When Keegan Johannes came on,
Yes.
even Andre ran with the ball very well, and the Lions just had no answer because their pack wasn't in the game. Their pack didn't stand up to what the Bulls brought. And some minor defensive issues, although they only conceded 17 points, but the Bulls will be happy with how things are going at the moment.
The defense was the biggest problem at the start of the
Yeah,
year, and it seems like they've sorted that out now the last couple of games. Do you remember those games with 60-40
yeah,
and those
at
sorts of
home.
games? So I think when the Bulls are at their best and when Johan Ackerman's teams are at their best, is when they get front foot ball for their big loose forwards
Yeah,
to run onto the ball, and then um, that is what we saw during the Lions' golden period in Super Rugby, where guys like the Jaco Kriel, Warren
Jacob
Whiteley, and
Kriel,
those
Warren
guys,
Whiteley,
where
Kwagga
they
Smith.
Kwagga Smith, where they get front foot ball and they get over the advantage line.
Mm,
And for me, the biggest difference was Ambrose Papier. His
mm,
service was amazing.
yeah,
And Ambrose Papier, not only his service, but he offers you that little breaks around the fringes, keeping opposition. And if you have a guy like that who gets front foot ball and can be and dictate, it makes it easier for Andre and
yeah,
the rest of the outside backs to get the space to try and attack in when you because the Lions they had no answer for the
not.
bullocking runs. And I mean Johan Grobler again, for me, he's been their best player this season by a mile. I think he's really he's since his couple of matches with the Box at the end
Yeah,
of year
he's returned to the box. Yeah.
um, he seems to have reached another level, and he's been so
Mm.
good this year. And with his runs also. So when the Bulls get go forward ball and they've got chances to get their big ball carriers into the game, then they are very dangerous.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure to watch the Bulls this past weekend. Um, I know some people here in Cape Town wouldn't like me to say that, but yes, like the Bulls and the Sharks, what a turnaround for their season. The Lions, Stormers will be licking their wounds over the next week and then plot and plan to get back to winning ways and staying in the top eight. The Stormers, of course, they do have a healthy lead there, so they will be in the top eight. But the Lions dropped out, the Sharks ahead of them. So those two South African teams, when the Six Nations break is done, they will both look to crack back into the top eight, and then it would be great for South Africa to have four sides contesting the playoffs of the URC when we get to the business end of the competition. John, thanks again for joining me. It's been another quick but lekker chat on the box, Six Nations, and of course our local rugby. We'll be back next week with another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. If you haven't yet, click that like button, subscribe to our channel at The Clutch ZA, and then hopefully there will be some good England news, depending on if you look at it from a Springbok side next week, as well as that Humdinger that will set the tone for the Six Nations between Ireland and France. Until next week, we'll chat again. Cheers.
Cheers.